Oh my goodness, I'm making a YouTube video. It's been about 4 months since my last one. Now, I haven't been streaming a lot, but guys, the videos, it's been hard. It's been hard to motivate myself to get up and do this. So something must be different. What is it? Yes, we finally have a good KvK again. It's been so long. So let's figure out if I'm prepared. So yes, I know it's been some time, and for those of you who don't know, my last two KvKs have actually been against 1718 and 1175 when they were one camp, and then we had 2377 and 3473 in one camp, and both of those were 3v1s. Now, no matter how you feel about 1981 or me as a content creator or whatever, the matchmaking in those KvKs was very simply unplayable. No 2v2 would have been fair, so they ended up being 3v1s, and what a 3v1 kind of does to you and your community, it makes it so that the fighting you're doing doesn't really feel like it's mattering, and that's kind of why the motivation for me was so low. Now, I did stream a lot of it. You can go check my channel for any of those VODs, and in fact, the 2377, I actually hit my goals of KP. Like, I got 4.3 billion kill points. Like, that KvK was hard. I mean, I got probably 5 to 6 million farm deads. Like, it was actually a good KvK, but again, it suffered just from the fact that, like, the only time that they would push were in downtime. The fighting lasts for 20 days. It was not like a standard KvK. And also, it's like, okay, well, if Star and DKP had been decided at the end of Kingsland, right? It's like, why are we still fighting? Well, you got to fight to win. Anyway, it was just kind of one of those really weird situations. But I'm not here to rant about the past. I'm here to look forward. And so the reason why I'm telling you about those past two KvKs is you're going to see some familiar names in this KvK. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the allies and enemies for this KvK. All right, so as you see on the screen, we are Earth Camp. So it's 1981, 2203, 2387 paired up in one camp, and we are about 49.3 billion power and 2.25, give or take, trillion kill points. So we are technically, on paper, the smallest camp here. We are allied with Fire Camp, who is 1718 camp, which we had previously fought 2 KvKs ago. Funny how things turn around, and now we're allied. Now, you can see that they are by far the biggest kingdom on this map. Again, maybe they shouldn't have gotten match found, but honestly, I think this is pretty fair. Their campmates are maybe not the strongest campmates in the entire KvK. They do have 2501. I'm sure they have some fantastic people there, but you can see that their power is relatively lower and their KP is relatively lower to just about every other kingdom in this KvK. So they were given lesser campmates, but obviously they punch a lot harder. So we will be fighting against Water and Wind Camp. Now, in Zone 5, we'll probably be going against Wind Camp because they're the only one that we're touching that is an enemy. And that has 1079, who we were allied and actually camped with last KvK. So this whole KvK is just a bunch of friendly faces, apparently. Also, 1228, 2965. Both good kingdoms. I've talked a little bit about them in some of my previous streams when we reviewed their kingdoms, but again, they're about 44, billion power and then 2.4 trillion kill points. And then we're going to be fighting against Water Camp as well, but probably not until Kingsland. They have 1879, 2304, and then 3473, who were in the camp with 2377 last KvK. So we just fought against them. They had a really hard KvK. Obviously, they didn't come out on top, but, they put up an incredible performance. We are actually pretty close with them as a kingdom, right? We know some of them. They know some of us. People help pilot back and forth, and it is what it is. So we're actually going to be fighting them. Now, you might look at this and say, okay, well, Fire Camp's the strongest, Earth Camp is the weakest, and, that's kind of how Diplo was done. And from a actual numbers perspective, you guys might be correct. However, I would say a few things of note here. I know 3473, they are very, very strong. They will punch above their weight. I also have some pretty high confidence in 1981 and our abilities, and I think that we're going to punch above our weight as well. So I would not be surprised if we end up winning Zone 5, if Water Camp ends up winning Zone 5. It's honestly pretty split 50-50. Now, another way that we could have done this was actually just diagonal. It would have been maybe a little bit harder of a challenge, but you never know, right? This is not up to me anymore. I completely stepped down from leadership. Knock on wood. I know my kingdom members give me a hard time for saying that because I say it all the time. But I just want to reconfirm that I'm not actually in leadership at this point. But yeah, so I would have been happy with both diagonal or top versus bottom. I'm happy just to get a good fight finally. One other thing of note, 2304, who is also in Water Camp, has the Kraken named Itachi. Now, he is famously in 1606, but apparently this 2304 kingdom is his alt kingdom, which is crazy. You can see he put up about 170 million power for pre-KvK. His account's insane. They did place second in pre-KvK with 1718 just squeaking out on top when they decided to rally a bunch of bar forts and push in that final stage. But either way, you can see these pre-KvK rankings. They're nothing crazy. You know, 1981 is famously never gone for pre-KvK rankings. Now, he did train a lot on the farms, and we'll get to that soon. But you'll see that 2304 put up some crazy scores for not actually being like a very large kingdom. So they're obviously going to be super stacked in Water Camp. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they fight against 1718. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay. Now I know you want to get to the commanders. You want to know what marches I'm going to be running. You want to know my speed ups. All right, so let's take it one step at a time. All right, I have gone through and organized all my marches that I'm going to be running. Obviously, I am also an Inf Garrison and Inf Rally lead, so there's another preset for that. We won't necessarily go over all of that stuff, or else this video would be about 20,000 hours long. Also, we have Strife and auxiliary skills, and now that's another video on its own, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. There's so much happening in Rise of Kingdoms now that I don't even know what's going on half the time. But we're going to go into my commanders first, right? And the gear that I have. And if you're an avid viewer of the stream, then you know that this is my bread and butter, my pride. It's my imp set, all right? I'm going to be running BQ with Liu Che. Super strong combo. Probably the second best combo in the game. After anything with QSH. So next up, we've got the Arthur. I will be running, I believe, Arthur with Philip, and then I'm actually going to be replacing my Belly Prime with William. I know, crazy. I really like my William and my Murder Balls just because I believe that skill damage debuff is so insane, especially now with all the QSH YSGs out there in the world. So you pretty much need to bring your William. I know, oldie but a goodie, man. Oldie but a goodie. He really can never go wrong. But yeah, so this is my Arthur, and then these are the Delta formation armaments. Next up, I've been singing his praises for the last 30 seconds, but QSH, man. I was going to go for another Cav set just so I could be like a Cav rallying garrison, and as soon as this commander came out, I said, no. We're just going to get as good of gear as we possibly can. Now, obviously, this isn't perfect. In a perfect world, I would not have dismantled my pendant, but I dismantled my pendant, and quite literally 1 week later, they announced this commander, and now I'm stuck with a war drum. I would have instead dismantled a war drum, but here we are. And now I have also gone ahead and crit a bunch of this, got this up to Iconic level 4. I will get this to Iconic, or at least crit, and maybe Iconic 2, and hopefully this to like Iconic 2 or 3 by the time fighting actually starts. So QSH with YSG, and then these are the armaments for that. Next up, we've got Skippy. Now, I know that the meta right now, or at least what it was actually something like the Ragnar Prime with Skippy secondary. And why were people running that? Well, essentially, the skill tree just outpaced the support tree, right? You did so much more damage with the bonus of skill damage, with the additional damage, with all the rejuvenates and all that stuff. I guess the support tree has rejuvenate, but just the skill damage amplification, right, was big. Now, it's my theory, and I've been on a few accounts that I've tested this a little bit, but my theory is that the support tree is now actually better. Now, this is not what I would run. This is my escort build, but this is what I would be running on my Skippy. Basically, emergency protection got a massive buff, and in general, the support tree got a massive buff with the release of QSH. QSH is doing skill damage constantly to 6 targets all the time. And you have a million QSHs on the field, meaning this is proccing all the time. It has a 50% chance to proc anytime you take any skill damage, right? So this is essentially almost a flat 15% reduction. You also have another 9% reduction here. It's just a lot better and makes you a lot tankier. And I believe that pushed it in front so that you now run Skippy A with William Wallace or Skippy A with Ragnar. And you're going to see I've done this actually with another commander too, Joan of Arc. So obviously one of the classic pairings is Nevsky Joan. I am actually going to be running Joan with Nevsky. And now I know that a lot of people are like, oh, Joan, Nevsky, Joan, don't do that. I have 3 Cavs, guys. So yes, while it will probably end up being my weakest march out there, I still got to run it. I got to run it. And the armaments are not bad, right? It's decent. The gear is decent. Not my favorite, but it is what it is. I didn't actually go over my second Archer March, but this will be my second Archer March. This is the ZL with Herman. Obviously, I still think the Herman debuff is great. ZL is still a great commander, and yeah, just can't really go wrong with that pairing. The Huo, again, Huo with William. This is the gear I'll have here. Solid, again, pretty decent. You know, I'm pretty close, I think, to... Oh, no, I'm not very close to an Intrepid. I'm only 2 out of 10. Where am I close? I think I'm close. Maybe it's the Delta formation. Yeah, 6 out of 10. So hopefully getting the Butterfly there soon, but... Yeah, you know, beggars can't be choosers, right? So the marches that I'm running, now you're going to see some weird stuff in the presets, but I had to make presets for the Strife event. Oh my God, guys, I don't have enough presets, man. It's too much. It's too much. These are my Strife presets. You can see Open Field, Rally, Garrison, and then the rest of my marches. But these are going to be my actual presets for War. Where does it start? I think it starts here at 8. Okay, so BQ Liu Che, Skippy with Ragnar, QSH with YSG, Zia with Herman, Huo with William, Arthur with Philip, and then Joan with Nevsky. Yes, I do have Belly Prime. I'm opting not to use him. I am opting to use the William and the Nevsky over the Belly Prime. That's just kind of a personal choice. You can go with something like, you know, Joan with Belly. I think it's worse than Joan with Nevsky. You can go with something like Huo with Belly instead of Huo with William. But again, I think that William debuff and the rage gain is just so important that you almost just can't get rid of it. I mean, it's 150 rage to 5 other targets, and you also give them 20% defense. And anything that you hit just can't get any skill damage increases, which is just insane when you have a bunch of YSGs on the field with QSH. So that's my rationale. Those are the 7 marches that I'm going to be running. Also, obviously, I think I mentioned this earlier, but, you know, I will be running the Gorgo with Toku Garrison. 1981 does not believe in mixed garrisons. We never have. And pretty much since the release of Sabutai, I mean... Yeah, mixed garrisons have been dead, so, you know, we're going to try and be disciplined, or as disciplined as possible. And now, in order for you to be that disciplined, you need to have a lot of troops. And, well, 1901 isn't very fat, so where does that lead us? That leads us to our farms. And again, we're going to get there. I will show you my farms, because that has actually been a big project for me over this last off season to build up enough troops to actually reinforce my own garrison. I know. But before we do that, we're going to go into the resources and speed ups. Now, if you look at the top right here, yeah, I'm pretty loaded. 1901, this isn't a surprise to anyone. We've probably replaced 50% of our open field and non-leadership players in the last 2 to 3 KvKs. 3v1s are tough. They're boring. People leave, right? And that's okay. We have managed to still have a decent recruitment, and we floated at about that 800 to 900 billion kill point range. So we're still about where we are, but when people leave, you know, they're nice and they give me their resources. So I appreciate those of you who did that. So as far as the resources go, we're not going to run out. We have 41.4 billion food, 42.3 billion wood, 37.6 billion stone, and 33.6 billion gold. Yeah, it's a lot. We also have bags still that we could open. No, we don't. We do not have pick ones. I think I opened these pick ones just so that I would have a larger number than somebody else in my kingdom. Anyway, regardless, you know, Mr. Death, he's a kingdom member for 1981 and a pretty large supporter of the stream. So I think he's got more resources than me now. It's kind of just like a grudge match. Anyway, that's a tangent. These are the research and building speeds. I think I can actually convert those into universals in this upcoming KvK. I hope. Cross my fingers. But yeah, training speeds, I'm saving for a Zenith. I could put on maybe like a few million if I need to, but again, trying to save for Zenith. Healing speeds 124 days, and then universals at 1.83. I'm hoping to get this up to about 2k before fighting starts. And yes, of course, I will be maxing all the crystal bundles until past 5 at the very least. I could also do a little bit more crafting. Again, saving for some of those archer blueprints. I'm hoping that there's like an egg or maybe a dig event around the corner, but again, we'll see. Okay, so that's enough on my account, at least my main account. Let's go into the real topic, and those are the farms. And now on your screen, you will see something that I call my farmy. Obviously, it's not that complicated. It's the farm army. I have 6 farms that I have that actually generate resources for me to use, and I will use 5 of them to fill. And in pre-KvK, I trained on all of them. Now, you're going to see 49 million power, 40, 39, 44, like... Oh, Kane, these farms suck. They're way too high power, and that's where I'd be like, well, hold your horses, because a lot of that's troop power. And now this farm does actually suck. This 49 mil. This is too large. I have too much tech. You know, this is the first farm I ever created, and I do in fact regret it. I have way too much war tech. You know, this is probably about 13 to 10 million power higher than it actually should be. However, I got a lot of troops. Now, I'm not going to make you guys sit through the loading screen of going from farm to farm so that you can see all of my farm troops. In fact, I'm just going to edit little photos, and I'm going to show you all of my farms on the screen right now. So you can see that I have a ton of troops on my farm. Mostly, they are actually T4 infantry, and they are France. And a little tip that I have for a lot of you guys out there, if you are farm filling, you want to be the civilization that your garrison uses the most. So what I mean by that is the special unit, right? So if you guys don't know, the France civilization has a special unit that has actually the most stats. So it's got, I think, plus 10 base health. And so when I'm filling my own garrison with T4 units that are actually special units, they're better than just normal T4 units. So yeah, that's why I'm France. Also, the healing speed, you'll never go wrong with it. You know, saving speed ups where you can is great, especially when you use those speed ups to actually, you know, train more troops, right? So my goal for this KvK, right, just to cap it all out, is I want to hit at least 10 million farm deads with T4 infantry alone. Now, I could also get some more, you know, deads on archers and calves. You know, we'll use those rallies and garrisons as well, but mostly infantry garrison because I can, well, stuff myself, right, if you know, for lack of a better term. But so that's my goal. At least 10 million T4 infantry are dead and over 5 billion kill points. Now I'm still on my farm here, but we're just going to look at my main real quick. My main is at 25.5 billion kill points. I want to hit 30 bill. Now I did a poll in my stream chat the other day that said most of you guys think that with the new tech, I'm going to get less than 3 billion. 2 to 3 billion was what you guys were thinking. And I will proudly, hopefully, prove you guys wrong. So yeah, go ahead, leave a comment down below how much KP you think I'll actually get, how many farm deads you think I'll actually get. Am I prepared for this KvK? And are you guys excited to watch it? Because I will be streaming it. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed my first video really in quite some time. I guess I'm back, you know? Oh man, we got strife and all. There are so many things to make videos about. I don't have the time, man. Working 12-hour days is tough. It's tough. Anyway, guys, I'll see you in the next one, all right? Peace.